Where's your student?
Julianne.
Mrs. Ennis is feeling lonesome down there.
Good evening. Welcome to the school committee meeting, September 24th, 2012. Tonight, on our agenda, we do have some minutes to review. We'll be talking about some MASC resolutions, and then we'll be hearing a little bit from our business manager in terms of some budgetary issues. The first item tonight, we'll be looking at minutes, and we have quite a few to go through. And of August the 13th, August the 27th, and September the 10th. August the 13th. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of August 13th, 2012.
So moved.
Can't second, I wasn't.
Unseconded, I'll second it for discussion. And I just do have one just minor amendment to the minutes. On my request from that evening, I talked about planning for future years, and I just would like it noted in the records where it says, "We are looking," that I am looking for a advanced placement program and to upgrade our AP curriculum and preparing students to be more adept to take AP classes. So that's the only modification that I have. I was just misquoted during those, and it did come from me and not from we being the committee. With that correction, any other discussion? Being none, I'd call for the vote.
Yes.
Abstain.
And yes, I have 2 yeses, 1 abstention, 2 absents. Those minutes are passed. Next will be August 27th. And looking over those, okay, up here we had a full board. And I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of August the 27th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, corrections. Being none, call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. 3 in affirmative and 2 absent. And finally, September the 10th. And I believe everyone who's present that is here this evening. I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. All right, being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
3 in affirmative and 2 absent. Those are passed. Okay. Let's see. And we'll send those down for committee.
Just sign. I can't sign it.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry, one last piece I missed was the executive session was also held on September the 10th, and I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved for discussion.
And I'll second it. Mrs. Ennis.
Mr. Himmelberger, he does not vote on the roll.
Okay.
The roll call vote is committee members only. Mr. Himmelberger is a guest to these meetings, so his name needs to be removed.
Thank you. The roll call is there, and the motion still carries with, just underneath that, Mrs. Ennis, with 4 in affirmative and 1 absent. So it does not affect that, and we can scratch them off both
Yeah.
bottoms. So here's a no vote. Okay, anything else? All those in favor with those corrections, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes pass. 3 in affirmative, 2 absent. Go ahead, you do paperwork.
Thanks.
Okay. We are still possibly awaiting one more member. I just want to maybe skip down through the agenda, and if they do come in, then we will let them join the discussions. Next item is unfinished new business. No, sir? Anything under unfinished or new? No, thank you. is, next item is the MASC resolutions review for our delegation vote. As we all know, the MASC conference coming up, and the last meeting, the committee unanimously approved Mrs. Ennis for our delegation, and she will represent the town of Oxford at that. And the next stage of that is that we have a report of the resolutions committee with some resolutions that they are looking for a vote. In other words, that we will be instructing Mrs. Ennis on how this committee feels that we should be voting on these items. So there are 5 of those items. And I'll just give you just a brief overview of the resolution. The resolution 1 is establishment of a special commission of the legislation for the study of mandated reports and data submissions for the school districts. Okay. And then, obviously, the rationale with this, the time and cost of preparing mandated reports and data submissions, some which are duplicative and redundant, is overly burdensome on school administration, detracts from the role of administrators as supervisors, and has never been analyzed to examine their benefit in increasing student achievement. The commission could streamline the mandated reports and data submissions and could indirectly but positively impact student achievement. Okay, so I would entertain a motion on how this committee feels we should be, how we would like Mrs. Ennis to go about this vote. Mrs. Ennis.
After reading this, the resolution here and sitting in on one of the meetings for this resolution, I will be in favor of voting yes and supporting the Framingham School Committee that has submitted this. As we know, the redundancy in reporting over and over and over to state agencies and federal agencies for school information and data is a time-consuming job that needs to be streamlined because of the time it takes. So I would like to make a motion to vote yes on this resolution.
And I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3 in affirmative for resolution 1, 2 absent. Resolution 2 deals with the modification of the circuit breaker formula. And to read it, whereas the spiraling costs of special education are significantly and adversely affecting school budgets across the Commonwealth, and they're asking for legislation that would change that, and the rationale would be that the spiraling tuition costs for out-of-district placements are adversely affecting again school budgets, with some costs rising over $300,000 per student. School districts are seeking relief from the legislature. Okay? And I'm again looking for a motion on where we should stand on this. Okay. But yeah, go ahead, Ms. Dennis. Yeah.
I'll also, again, be supporting the Framingham School Committee in this effort so that our circuit breaker funds can be more in line and are not, I guess, sometimes it seems like they're intermingled with other funding, and I would like to see that it is more streamlined and more cost-effective for us.
And you would so move that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So moved, and I would again second it. And discussion? Being none, all those in favor of aye. All those in favor, please say aye of going along with the motion to vote in the affirmative on this. Please say aye.
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 Motion passes again, 3 in affirmative and 2 absent. Resolution 3, health insurance coverage for medically necessary treatment in schools. This was submitted by the Brookline School Committee. Whereas Massachusetts health insurance cover physical and mental health care expenses for all children with one exception. And whereas that one exception is the physical and mental health care expenses for children and young adults over 3 years of age and up to age 22 who have been identified with special education needs. Currently, Commonwealth school districts are required to pay for such health care expenses, and it is appropriate public policy for school districts to be responsible for costs necessary to educate children with special needs or learning disabilities. By the same token, it is appropriate public policy for the Commonwealth's healthcare system to support the physical and mental health expenses for this population. Therefore, be resolved, the MASC supports House Bill H1 531 from the 2002 session, or any other proposed legislation which would require all government and private health insurance to cover medically necessary expenses for children and young adults with educational deficits and/or learning disabilities from 3 years of age to 22. And their rationale is an increasing number of special education students come to school needing accommodations for physical health-related issues rather than educational deficits or learning disabilities. These medically fragile students require special aids, sometimes the care of one-on-one nurses, specialized transportation, administration of oxygen and/or medically necessary care accommodations that they also require at home. Yet school districts are required by law to provide these accommodations regardless of whether the need stems from medical or educational needs. Meeting the educational needs of every child is the obligation of all school districts. Meeting the health care needs of every child is the obligation of the Commonwealth's public and private health care systems. This proposed legislation will require health care systems to cover medically necessary expenses without exception. Okay. Any thoughts, ideas on Resolution 3? Mrs. Ennis?
If I could, through you to the superintendent, is this how it occurs here? We are responsible for their medical needs? And if it is that we are responsible, to what extent is our responsibility? Is it full for the time that they're here with us in school?
Obviously, it varies through the chair. Obviously, it varies on a case-by-case basis, but school districts are responsible for picking up some of the medical care while the student is accessing their education. And I think what this resolution would like to do is draw a clearer, cleaner line that if it's educational, by all means, districts should pick that up as part of their responsibility. But if it's a medical issue, such as some of the things that are outlined here, then that should come from a different funding source.
How do I want to ask this question? Is there anything written in our district that says we go up to this point for medical needs? Or is it just, it's kind of open-ended and it can go for whatever the need is?
Go ahead, sir. Yes.
All districts have the right to appeal decisions to the state Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So in rare instances where there are costs being shared amongst departments or districts and all parties do not agree, then that can certainly be appealed to the DESC. So there is a protocol that all districts have to mitigate some of those expenses. And again, every case is different, but the answer is, in some cases, the districts are responsible for picking up those costs.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Right, anytime. Okay, and again, I'm looking for a direction on where the committee would like to work.
Motion to support Resolution number 3?
Okay, we have a motion to support. And I'll
Second.
second it. Discussion. Being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. 3 in affirmative and 2 absence. For Resolution 4 and Resolution 5, not in the spirit of not trying to appear in any form of conflict of interest, where they deal with educator evaluation systems and funding per school district. I'm going to turn the gavel over to the superintendent to run this portion of the meeting. However, we are looking at a rule of necessity when there are 3 members here eligible to vote for that. We are missing 2 members, and we would need a quorum on these issues. My letter of disclosure, general letter, is on file with the town clerk's office, and I will be participating under the rule of necessity. And I pass the gavel to the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As before us, Resolution 4 regards the funding for the educator evaluation system. This is part of our Race to the Top and part of the state regulations from June of 2012, where all educators in the Commonwealth must be under a formal education evaluation system. And that is for superintendents, for principals and building administrators, directors, as well as all teachers and professional staff who hold a license and certification. Obviously, a lot of districts, such as Oxford, who are Race to the Top districts, must implement this educator evaluation system for this school year, but the training is ongoing to make sure that everybody understands the nuances of the regulations as well as the implementation of the system. And I believe what Resolution 4 is calling for is that the implementation of it, MASC believes that a comprehensive and thoughtful evaluation system requires the most diligent effort on districts' part to improve, in order to improve the quality of education for our students. Whereas the formal regulations, guidelines, rubrics, and resource advisory material produced by DESE to ensure compliance is comprised of more than 375 pages of instructions and over 110,000 words. And whereas school committees are required to bargain collectively to incorporate the policies and procedures into local agreements, and that the multi-step process will require further commitment of considerable time for educators and supervisors, and whereas the funding from Race to the Top grants will be inadequate to compensate districts for the time and expense required to implement the new system, and for districts who are not participating in Race to the Top, there will be no reimbursement from the state for this implementation. Also, the MASC would like to bring it to the attention of the Auditor of the Commonwealth that this educator evaluation system represents an unfunded mandate, and further that the auditor be requested to identify for the general court the cost of the unfunded mandates. The rationale is that this does require extensive and highly specific requirements, and districts will need to orient evaluators as well as the educators to fulfill the requirements. Also, that most signatories to the national grant application were unaware of the extent to which time and expense would be added to their workload. Opponents of this resolution may argue persuasively that the educator evaluation is a critical responsibility and that everyone should view it as a part of their general responsibilities for making more efficient use of their time. So that is Resolution 4. Be happy to entertain questions and/or a motion for discussion. Mrs. Ennis.
I'll make a motion to support this resolution number 4 on behalf of the MASC Board of Directors. I think that one of the issues that comes right out to me here is the unfunded mandate. This would be an extremely, I believe, and this is just my opinion, an extremely expensive evaluation process, and if we're not funded for it, where is that money going to come from? It's all well and good to have an evaluation process, but you can't just throw it at us and expect the community to fund it. So I will support their efforts here.
It has been moved by Mrs. Ennis. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Coonan.
Under the rules and necessity.
Any further discussion regarding resolution number 4, educator evaluations? Hearing none, call for the vote. All
Yes.
those in favor of accepting as motioned?
Yes.
Abstain.
Abstain.
The motion does carry 1-0 with 2 abstentions of members present. Thank you very much. And I should continue with the
Please,
last one.
please.
Resolution 5. This is regarding adequacy in school funding. Whereas the current economic crisis, school finance has become a more critical issue in order to ensure that students receive a public education that helps them reach the highest levels of achievement and meets the state's highest in the nation standards. Therefore, it's resolved that the MASC reaffirms its advocacy positions on funding of the public schools by calling upon the general court to take steps necessary to determine the appropriate funding level for public schools and to make such adjustments in the foundation budget and Chapter 70 funding formulas as may be required. In order to make an accurate determination of adequacy, the legislature should authorize a formal adequacy study to determine the true cost of providing an appropriate education. The rationale here is fairly straightforward. For years, the proponents of greater financial assistance have urged the state authorize a formal study to determine the adequacy of Chapter 70 funding and the fairness of the distribution formula. This constituency, the MASC, argues the only credible study can prove the state financial aid is insufficient to fulfill the requirements, the mandates, and the obligations of the public schools. Opponents of the adequacy study believe that such research might fail to be inclusive of all sources of school funding outside of Chapter 70, or that the study would be biased in favor of inadequacy, or that any finding of inadequacy could trigger a constitutional mandate under the McDuffie decision that went before the Mass Supreme Judicial Court several years ago, and also that it may divert badly needed state programs and services from other programs with equally great demands upon them. So that is resolution number 5 in a nutshell. Is there any discussion or any motion? Mrs. Ennis?
I'll make a motion to also support the adequacy study submitted by MASC's Board of Directors. This is something that has come around quite a few times. I think that the legislation is just stalling because we've seen this resolution come around quite a few times. Always a little bit different verbiage, but the tone is exactly the same. That Chapter 70 is not fair, the distribution is not fair, and it needs to be revised and looked at. So I would like to submit a motion to accept and vote yes on this resolution.
Okay, there's a motion before us. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Ravelli. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of this resolution,
Yes.
say aye.
Yes.
Abstain.
We have 2 yeses, 1 abstention. The motion does carry. Thank you very much. 2-0 and 1. And I'll turn the gavel back to Chairman Cohen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Correspondence? Anything this evening?
Nothing else, sir.
Actually, I did correspondence. I received a wonderful note from Ms. Hodgeny, and she titles it, "Dear Friends, your extremely kind and very meaningful letter arrived this past weekend. Thank you so very much for all of your support and for all that you do for the staff and children in the Oxford school systems. With deepest gratitude, Judy Hodgeny."
Very nice.
We thank her for that, much needed. She really gives our thanks every day when she sees the kids walk through. Wonderful. Thank you, Judy. Okay, correspondence, subcommittees. Mrs. Ennis.
Just a quick update, the anti-bullying subcommittee met on the 17th. We have a very good group once again. We're looking for a couple more parents and a few more students, and I think we'll be able to fulfill those needs. We have started our theme, which is empathy, and we've already come up with a couple really good ideas. So we have a very excited group that looks forward to putting together a really nice presentation for the school committee, maybe early spring.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Coonan. I just have a couple of notes. As everyone knows, town meeting, the fall town meeting is next Wednesday, October 3rd, right here at the high school auditorium at 7 o'clock. And as always, it's your town, and we need a quorum to be able to hold that town meeting. So on behalf of the folks at Town Hall, just want to make that public service announcement. Also to remind voters that the Bay Path renovation project vote is also next week, and that is Thursday, October 4th, and I believe it's from 12 until 8. And as a reminder, there is no school on Friday, October 5th. That is a day that we will be doing a lot of the training that this resolutions have spoken to. As well, there is no school on Monday, October 8th, since that is an early Columbus Day. So our students get 4 days to do all their homework and study and get ahead in all of their classes. I just wanted to speak a bit to the educator evaluation system. Districts that are Race to the Top districts, of which there's over 200, and Oxford is one, have this year to implement that system. And it does require a tremendous amount of training and education amongst all of the indicators and rubrics and elements that go into each one of the components. The one for the superintendent, which I will be bringing to the school committee in a couple of meetings, as well as the ones that I have to do for all of the administrators, and then certainly the ones that administrators will be working with the rest of the educators to make sure that we properly implement the educator evaluation system. So that is just one of several mandates that are taking up a lot of our time. The other major one is the RETEL initiative, which is, in a nutshell, English language learners. And because Oxford does not have many, we are in one of the later cohorts in which we have to make sure that all educators get 45 hours of training to make sure that we understand how to teach to our English language learners. And this was, if anyone remembers, back in, I think it was 2002, there was a ballot initiative to do away with sheltered English immersion. I believe 3 states did that, of which one is Massachusetts. So the Department of Justice says, wait a minute, you need to look at how you do train your teachers and how, in terms of how they can teach our English language learners. So that will be something on the horizon that everybody across the state will have to implement. A quick update on the middle school building project. The roof is complete, and we are quite happy that phase 1 of the project is finished. I will be bringing to the committee the recommendations for the calendar for next year, because obviously to finish the rest of the project, which is the HVAC system in that building, which is a lot of engineering to get state-of-the-art air quality into a 40-year-old building, as well as replacing all of the exterior windows and doors, and perhaps updating the flooring, especially on main halls and stairwells, is going to take a lot of logistical planning to make sure that we minimize the downtime and maximize our education next year. So that will be taking place, and the committee is now waiting for the engineering to take place on that phase of the project. And the other important part of this building project is, because it exceeds the threshold, the Disabilities Commission will expect that certain standards are met for ADA requirements. Other districts that have done this type of renovation will have gone to the AAB, the review board, to ask for waivers because obviously if we had to bring that building into, meet all of the codes, it would cost probably as much as the value of the building. So that is something that we are waiting for, to see what the AAB comes back with in terms of what they will waive and what they will require the town to do to bring the middle school up to code for all things that relate to handicap access. And so that we are waiting on that. Otherwise, we are proceeding with the rest of the project with the anticipation that the earlier we go out to bid, the better we are in terms of making sure that we have all of the materials from manufacturers here on time to complete the project, because we have that very short window of June, July, August between school years. So as that, we expect that that will continue so that we can start the project in a timely manner and finish it before we go back to school in the end of the fall, summer 2013. As everybody probably saw, the MCAS and accountability status was released last Wednesday for the Commonwealth, and we will have our annual meeting next October 15th at that meeting, where the entire administrative team will be here to explain the numbers and analyze the numbers. While many of the test scores improved, we are certainly behind where we want to be. And even the state average for grade 10 proficiency in ELA, math, and science is proving to be a challenging goal to meet. I do want to say a special commendation to Clara Barton, because both grades 3 and 4 in math and ELA showed dramatic improvement. Obviously, the Chafee School does not have MCAS. We do our own district determination of assessments, but we do not have the Chafee School with MCAS. So the Barton School has been declared level 2 for this year, and Oxford Middle School is a level 2 school as well. Oxford High School just missed the cutoff to be classified as a level 2 school, which means that we would be classified as a level 2 district. However, the new system goes into effect this year. Remember, last year we applied for a waiver to the federal government to be released from the adequate yearly progress that was No Child Left Behind. And the federal government granted the state the waiver in February. So we no longer have an AYP accountability determination, but we have a brand-new 35-page accountability status determination, which has a new formula called the PPI, the Performance and Progress Indicator. And it's a fairly complex formula. If a school has a 75 PPI, then you are making enough progress in lowering the gap in some of the high-need students, and so that you are classified a level 2 school. Oxford High School in the first year has a PPI of 73. So we just missed that cutoff. It doesn't lessen our determination to improve the education for all of our students so that they do achieve at levels that are that we are proud of. And I want to make that very clear that while we celebrate the improvements, we are not pleased with where we are relative to the state and to other districts. So we do have room to improve, and at the October 15th meeting, the committee will hear what we have done that has worked and what we are continuing to do to improve. I have also asked DESC to recalculate the formula, which places Oxford High School at a 73, because I think there may be some data that they are either not counting in our favor or are counting against us. So I should hear back from them by the end of this week. It doesn't change the fact that if we were even designated a Level 2 district, we still have the assistance from the state in form of the DSAC group that has worked very closely with us, and that will continue for this year to help our teachers improve their practice and help us improve our curriculum so that we can have all of our students achieving at a level that is worthy of what this school district offers. So I will be reporting at the October 15th meeting on the accountability status determination, and we will have our principals and directors here to talk about and analyze all of the 17 MCAS tests that our students take. And I look forward to that meeting on the 15th because I think it will be very important as we go forward. I also wanted to take a moment just to welcome Patricia Susan as our new Director of Student Services, and today was her first day, and she will be busy meeting all of us, and I think the committee will be very, very happy with the results that she will produce for us, and we welcome her. And that is, I believe, all I have for tonight.
Thank you. I'll open the opportunity here for our board members or any questions. I know he put a lot of information out there. And I just want to talk about that 10:15 meeting. You have hard copies of the data that's come out yet with MCAS?
Yes, we will. You will have all of that data. I'm going to try and have it by, if that meeting is Monday the 15th, by the previous Wednesday. It's simply a matter of pulling all of the reports and then getting in manageable format. If I can get them earlier, I'll let you know. And we will have all of the reports up on a PowerPoint so that everybody can see them. But I will have that packet in easy-to-read format for the committee no later than that prior Wednesday.
And the reason I say as soon as possible, we're
There's
bringing
a
a
lot of information
lot of
to
information, and we're bringing a lot of people in here. And this board has always, as what I've seen, been very informed as to what's going on. And we can sit here and make intelligent decisions and have intelligent conversation with the administrators that are in the buildings and have hard copies in front of us that we have a chance to digest, a chance to get to you with questions,
Yeah.
and we can have a good dialogue back and forth.
Absolutely.
So thank you as soon as possible with that, please. Anyone else on those topics that the superintendent brought up? Mrs. Ennis?
In regard to our MCAS scores, I think with some of the challenges I've seen our district go through in the past 9 years or so, one of the things that we always becomes part of the conversation is parental involvement and how the communication between home and school has got to be something that we can all work together with. I had conversation this morning with the superintendent in regard to an idea that he and I have tossed around probably a half a dozen times now, and now it needs to come to fruition because it's the time to do this. I think it's important that we have an evening where the school committee hosts a night to meet the superintendent at each school. This would be an opportunity for Mr. Himmelberger to discuss the needs of the district, the importance of town meeting, listen to parents, listen to guardians, whoever needs to come in and join us for this. I think that we have a very select group and very fortunate because we have a former Board of Selectmen who was an educator, who was also a father. So we know that the father part comes first, and he has a different view than I would have as being just a mom and a school committee member. Then you have another educator on the committee who also is a mom, who has the SPED background. So I think with all of the differences we have, it's good to put it out there. This is what we see, give our opinion, not just with only our school committee hat on, but with our parental hat on and for both of you, the education hat. We need to change the way our kids learn, and that's obvious. That's not just us, that's everywhere. So in saying that, I think that we need to tell the parents, explain to them, you possess all of the power here. Because in reality, they do. They possess the power of what happens from school to home. They possess the power of who sits in these seats. They possess the power of how the children get to school, get home from school. Those kinds of things are so important, and we need to make sure that they understand that. So in saying that, as everybody, anyone that knows me knows, I am not a fan of MCAS. I never have been, I never will be, until the Commonwealth of Massachusetts can tell me why it's so important to teach to test. I feel that it handcuffs educators, and they are not allowed to educate in a way that brings the level of learning to a higher standard. I am all for accountability, absolutely. But in this method, I don't think you're finding fair accountability. It is up to the teacher, the principal, the parents to show accountability, not a test. It doesn't make sense to me, but that's me. And I've had many arguments to and from, but I'm not changing my mind until they can change my mind for me, and haven't seen that happen. As I had said in an email that I sent to all my colleagues, we've done baby steps. Now it's time for a leap. It's time for a leap into education. It's time for a leap for our superintendent to be at the helm, be the CEO, and really let everybody know, look, we're all in this together. This isn't me and Sue. It's not, Mr. Himmelberger and Mr. Coonan. It's all of us together collectively, and people need to understand how important it is that they're needed, especially the parents. So I would like to, if I may, make a motion that we have an evening with the superintendent for this evening, that when we do this, that we include our PTOs, our booster club, and the Friends of the Middle School. This would be to promote these evenings, and we would also ask them to fund the evening, because we were thinking of pizza and fruit, to come in at dinner time, have a very relaxed, very open discussion. My thought with the superintendent was that each school committee member could take 5 minutes to kind of give their idea, and then let him have the evening and try to enhance what we have going on here. So my motion would be, Mr. Chairman, that we have our first evening of an evening with the superintendent. I believe he felt Chafee School was a good start. So if we could have that on and off meeting Monday. And we were thinking maybe 5 o'clock to 7:30. He and I also discussed, we may only have 3 or 4 people there. But you know what? It's 3 or 4 people that we need.
Right.
So, and then the next meeting, maybe we'll have 10. I'm hoping that once parents start talking about this a little bit, and we put it out there that we're going to do this, that they'll be drawn in, because they'll want to hear what he has to say. They'll want to hear where we're coming from. I think there's too many misconceptions that people believe that we, as school committee members, are responsible for everything that goes on in the schools, and we're not. We're responsible for a small portion, yet he is the man who is leading the district. So that would be my motion. And if Mr. Himmelberger tomorrow, when he has his admin council meeting, could rally his principals and vice principals to begin this effort, and we can get the word out there.
Good.
I couldn't agree more for the need for this, and it's something that the Administrative Council has already talked about, and I was just looking at the dates, Mrs. Ennis, that you mentioned in terms of the off Mondays are usually pretty good for most people, unless the Patriots are playing or winning,
Or
but
losing.
that's another story.
5 to 7.
Yeah, but October 22nd will be the first open Monday, I'll check with everyone's schedule tomorrow, and then we'll work with the PTOs. and that could be Chafee. The next open would be November 5th, if I did my calendar correctly, and that could be Barton. The 19th, which is the Monday before Thanksgiving, I believe, would be the middle school, and then December 3rd, I believe, is the first Monday, and that could be the high school. So that's one option, and it may dovetail. I know the committee last year held meetings in each school. If the committee chooses to do that, then it would give a back-to-back Monday exposure to each building. So I throw that out there as a possibility, and I will work with the administrators tomorrow to let them know of that. But I think it's a terrific idea because as I get to know more and more people in the town, and as they get to know me, and certainly the same with the students, there's so much information, and sometimes it doesn't get out the right way, and oftentimes I think as parents, we're busy, and we tend to think that we're just one voice, and we might not be heard, but it's a terrific forum to at least give everybody the opportunity to listen and be heard. So I think it's a great idea, and hopefully we can get it to work. Thank you.
Susanna, Scott.
If I could also offer, this would be an evening for parents to come in. And I know that in the past, we've had NJHS and National Honor Society students come in to do babysitting. They will take the kids into the library, the media centers. They will do little crafty things if there's little ones. I would like Mr. Himmelberger also, through the chair, if he could find out if any of those students would be available. It could be part of their community service. The one more thing I wanted to add to this is, I've had conversation with Mr. Kuchar in regard to this idea, and he is very interested in hearing how this goes, and has asked that possibly we will be presenters at the next conference next year in regard to this, see how this works, and what was great, what was not so great, how did it go, was it successful, and we'll see what happens.
I think it's a great idea, Ms. Ennis, and, and the whole point is, we all struggle, it's the point you said, I mean, how do you engage the parents? How do you get more people involved? It's even right down now, how the school's evaluated, how the teacher evaluated on different ways that you can go about engaging more parents, and I hope that, well, the intention with teachers, we also be welcome too to come in.
Absolutely.
And if they want to spend some time, here's another way that made themselves available for parents. Is that it's not your formal teacher's night, but just to meet the parents in a different venue. So it's open up to all members of the Oxford Public School family. I think it's a wonderful idea. I would second the motion. You moved it, I will second that. Mr. Ravelli? All set?
All set.
All set. Okay, any further discussion? No, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3 in affirmative and 2 absent. Okay.
That was my report.
Okay. Mr. Matthew?
Thank you very much. Apparently my voice is a little high-pitched tonight. Sorry. As Mr. Himmelberger indicated, and just a reminder to everyone in town, the special town meeting is next week. We do need a quorum there to act on any articles, and the school does have an appropriation coming up, as explained at the last couple meetings. The monthly update was in your packets. I'm not sure if there are any questions. The year starts like many other years. I have encumbered all of the salaries and all of the open purchase orders at this point in time, and all of the utilities and known expenses. What's left over is truly an available sum that will get eaten away at during the course of the next 9 months and 10 months of school. We start in about the same position as we did last year, which is good, except we have not the positive outlook for projections in some areas, but rather some pessimistic ones, as indicated again in the last couple of memos. With the additional appropriation that we expect at the special town meeting, I don't anticipate any issues or concerns going through the rest of the year. The big question, of course, during the course of any year for a school system is, what are my utilities going to look like? Specifically, what is my heating going to look like? Are we going to have a winter like last year where we saved a lot of money? Are we going to have a winter like 2 years ago where every other day was a snowstorm, not just a snow event, and very low temperatures and very high heating costs? And of course, unanticipated personnel situations certainly can come up during the year, which might impact the budget. But overall, I think we start the year in a fairly good position, where we don't need to push any buttons, any panic buttons, as we have in 2010 and 11, when the year started, close to the bone, and there was no relief in sight, and not much hope that the year would get better. I think we start pretty good. I think I expect that we'll end pretty good. But that's as it looks today, and that could change tomorrow.
Yes, it could.
Okay, questions for Mr. Matthew. I'm just going to pause for a second. I just had to go over something here. Questions? We're all set? Okay. Thank you, sir, for the report.
Thank you.
Okay. Business manager, from school committee members. Mrs. Rowley.
The only thing I have left, because we covered enough tonight, we had talked about when we did the reviews and the principals came and presented their goals for the year, we had talked about stopping in and having them stop in and give us an update on how that's going. And I'm wondering if, I'm assuming around November would be the end of the first quarter. And if we could, I don't think we have a schedule of who would be, who's on first or whatever, but if we could try to tentatively start a schedule for that.
I reminded the administrators of the committee's wishes to have them, not wait until the end of the year, but report a couple of times throughout the year, and they agree as well that that would be good to do, whether we tie it in with a schedule that you'd like them all here, or if you want to do it by building, if you go to each building, and they could certainly be there for that. There's a lot of ways that you could do it. Just let me know, and we will have them present for the review.
I also had the same request. And before we started talking about starting this, the monthly meetings there, I was looking at the end of October to the beginning of November for the first, to invite the first one in. And I'd like to start with the high school. I'd like to start with Mr. Wells first, and then we can trickle right down, so.
One per meeting, or would you like them all to be
Just
in?
one.
Okay.
Just one, right? The committee in favor of that, just one at a time?
One.
Okay.
That's
Probably could be 10, 15 minutes.
Yep.
I just want to hear it, because in those nights, and Mr. Velli brought it up, there's too much information. It starts getting thrown and talked around. We really want to have a nice conversation with that one.
So would that be October 29th, last meeting of October? You'd like to have Mr. Wells
I think that'd be
here?
appropriate,
Okay,
yes.
perfect.
October 29th, so. Let's see. High school.
You got 3 meetings left till the end of the year, so we can fill.
The only other thing is, I'm sorry to say that I had to work and missed homecoming, but I hear it was quite an event, and you had the weather for it. And fundraising seems to have went well. But I have, again, sorry I missed it. Nothing else for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Ennis.
Thank you. I just want to disclose to the committee that I am going to become a member of the Booster Club. but I will not take part in any solicitation of donations. So we've done that in the past, and I just wanted to let everyone know that I won't be doing that. I'll tell them who they can call, but I won't be making the calls for any donations. And I do want to just, if we could just touch on Bay Path just for a minute.
Of course.
I know that this is one of those times when people say, I can't, I won't, there's no way. But I really, really hope that when everyone goes to vote for Bay Path, that they will look in their heart of hearts and know that this is a building in desperate need. It's not a building that's just in need, it's in desperate need of the renovation, the repairs it needs. I think some of the information that's been put out there against Bay Path is very unfortunate, and it's not all right. It's not, the information is not correct. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to ask if you have children that go to Bay Path, or you had children that went to Bay Path, or you know students that go to Bay Path, you really will consider the effort they are trying to put forward. It is not an effort that is for any kind of luxury. It is for necessity. And it really, really deserves the attention of all of the communities it services. So I'm hoping that people will see beyond the dollar figure right now and support that school.
Okay, thank you,
That's
Mrs.
all I
Ennis.
have.
Very well put.
Thank you.
Okay, just a couple of reminders I have that the town meeting coming next week, we are posted for 6 o'clock, sir?
Yes.
So we'll be meeting at 6 o'clock,
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock. Or they were posted for 6, it may not to be about 6:30,
Here?
yes, yes. And here at the library. Okay. All right, secondly, previously in your report, you talked about the calendar. Is there any talk, has been any advertisement, have we formed a calendar committee? Where, was brought up before to have, to put a calendar committee together? Okay,
I haven't had any discussion with the committee. Certainly, I know the committee was looking to have that look at the calendar in general, which I think is a good thing. The only issue we have, obviously, is that we want to end this year as early as we can, and we want to start back to school in the fall of 13 as late as we can. However, we compress the 13-14 school year, I think would certainly warrant the discussion from that committee. And I think that that's certainly something that we should look at.
I think it's a necessity.
Yeah.
To bring more people involved. I know that we're trying to get our hands tied with working around the contractor's schedule, but there's also other items in a school calendar. For instance, the day before Thanksgiving, do you go a half day, do you go a full day? You don't even go. Those issues come up and you start talking about planning of vacations, your Christmas holidays, there's professional development days. So there's pieces in there. I think it's essential to put that committee together. And so if we could work on that, that would be wonderful. And my other piece I had, Mrs. Ravelli brought up, as to start scheduling those principals in. So that's all I have.
Very good.
Let's see here, and again, we'll be meeting next week, and that'll be off camera for pre-town meeting, and then we are scheduled for the October 15th and October 29th. Okay, coming up, again, we'll have that MCAS analysis and review. Okay, and at this stage, I'll open the floor. Any questions or comments from the floor? Being none, I'll close the floor. Okay, any other business in front of this board this evening? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second?
Moved in second, discussion. Being none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
3 in the affirmative, 2 absent, and we are adjourned. Thank you for coming tonight.
Very good.
The 4th is October 4th.
The third.